My presentation relates to my forthcoming PhD, which is entitled At the Edges of Terror, an assessment of the role of lone wolf terrorist group participants and organised criminals in contemporary terrorism. And in relation to that, I'd like to take you to a quote from this weekend on the anniversary of the 9/11 attacks that Dame Cressida Dick, Commissioner of the Metropolitan Police in London in the UK, gave, and that was that terrorist groups have exploited advances in communication technology to reach and recruit anyone, anywhere, and at any time through social media and the internet. The threat of terrorist cells being directed from overseas has been added to by that of individuals carrying out rudimentary attacks. And you'll see the synergy immediately with my presentation title. My particular emphasis of the Commissioner's reference to anyone is due to this factor's crucial import to my findings in my PhD, and the place understanding anyoneess has in contemporary terrorism, but with a relevance to the part of organised crime. My thesis utilises the concept of the crime-terror nexus, which I think many of you will be familiar with, established in academic circles, that attempts to illustrate and explain the relationship between those involved in organised crime and those participating in terrorism or political violence. Where the thesis differs from the past is that my research focuses on individual actors rather than previous work that is largely concentrated on considered cohesive terrorist and organised crime groups. The fluid nature of allegiances, particularly in organised crime groups, makes this new approach very useful in rethinking the why of both organised criminal and terrorist actions. Through focused research, case studies, and an expanding modelling concept, I demonstrate that the antecedents, actions, and attributes of contemporary lone wolf terrorists and participants in crime-terror nexus relationships have significant similarities. My thesis uniquely examines the crime-terror nexus and lone wolves set within established academic frameworks, rapport, demonstrating the cyclical nature of terrorism. In doing so, it draws out previously unacknowledged common factors across what, until now, appear wholly disparate terrorist campaigns. There is considerable focus in the thesis on organised crime in relation to both Northern Irish-related terrorism and the Islamic State. The opinions of senior officers and relevant frontline practitioners were gathered through interviews and focus groups to provide the perspective of those with first-hand knowledge of organised criminals and terrorists. My thesis contends that by better understanding the criminal behaviours of modern terrorists, who often appear to have a religious motivation, we can see through this facade and appreciate we have actually moved into an age that can best be termed a form of identity terrorism. The reappraisal undertaken in the thesis, placing a variety of actors under scrutiny from a new perspective, clearly shows that the crest of the religious wave of terrorism may have passed, and instead terrorism appears to have moved into new uncharted waters, where the actions of those involved in organised crime are of significant import.